Just rolling up the weed, ladies stop by my page when they scrolling up they feed. So I block the young chicks that ain't old enough for trees, but I like whatever comment that they bold enough to leave. Rappers follow me cause rhymes from my catalog read like an intergalactic battle log. Satellite feed to the spaceship. When traveling, my documents are placed in the basement of the Vatican, where scientists try to duplicate my rhyme patterns. To do this, they must lubricate the mind matter and find data to match the kind that I dispatch. I lace rhymes in the fabric of space-time. To meet you, I'm traveling back plenty of nights for him, like Phineas when he stabbed that Midianite whore with the javelin. That's in the Torah. I'm in the morning just reporting for the art of slaughter. I told the king to pay tribute and he brought his daughter. Exotic trees in my horticulture, fly aeronautic products for the vultures. Raps hidden in imported sculptures. Got my custom broker scrambling to meet me at the border open. Connect got money to lobby to keep the border open. You ain't got no rhymes or no style neither. Cats get confused, heard more lines than wild zebras. Yeah. Hey yo, you couldn't imagine the colors in my kaleidoscope. The effervescent essence provided by my exotic flow. Regarded of how you plotted on nautical wavelengths and brought it from the basement to the pavement. The same shit as astrologists and astrophysicists. The love and knowledge of a lyricist is serious. The theory is mysteriously furious periods of time that it took. Fuck that. You can't imagine if I'm capping on the track is the capstone of the pyramid. I'm an expert and it's an experiment. Dropping metaphors is my favorite thing. I rock fly jewels, think David slingshot.
Yo, what up?
Yeah, I said it. Here's a couple of nice guys.
Just tapping in. Got a little bit of time. So you know how we do. That's off my new album, Stardust. I'm about to come out with a few videos too. As soon as I get ready. I just said that, just getting juice. What's up? How y'all doing? So I'm about to play another tune, then we're gonna take a deep dive and try to, I don't know if we'll be able to answer the question, but we'll look at a whole lot of primary sources and a whole bunch of stuff to see why the ancient Egyptian gods were black. A lot of them, at least. But let me see, what can I bump real quick? We're gonna go right here.
Yeah, and I'ma work cause I ain't going out lazy, bruh. Thought he was conscious, but the homie just played me, bruh. The house of consciousness is going out crazy, bruh. They crazy, bruh. Alright, it's getting kinda dirty in these YouTube streets. The Amon-Ra squad, God thinking you dudes weak. Islam or Judaism, where you learn what you dudes teach. The West African rappers slapping with that voodoo speech. All that sub-Saharan terror about a Khufu feet. I'm like Norma, that agricultural farmer that grew you wheat for the storehouses. We feed the Hebrews and lead the people when we defeat the feeble. They wanna know polite rip me off, but Sonetta paid me my money though. That mean he 100. And I'ma work cause I ain't going out lazy, bruh. Thought he was conscious, but the homie just played me, bruh. The house of consciousness is going out crazy, bruh. They crazy, bruh. With the Jews, I rock the pinky. I think Jesus got to save me. A doctor save me, a Dr. Inky. I cop the copper jewels on blue and red. I'm not the chakra doctor y'all claim woke, but you in bed. You won't pop a chopper, you Grandmaster J. You just talking. Punks turn the other cheek and you will walk away. Y'all gon' have to pardon my Moorish. That's Tahaka Bay. I'm on that black African power on my darkest day. And that's my brother Ankh stomping them other punks. We brought them gators to Italy, you loving the Moors. And now I'm teaching from my shrine like brother Jabari. Scoping the savannah cause I'm on another safari. Tasha K showed us Frank record. Young Pharaoh just losing his mind and y'all can't help him. I know one thing, you're a fool if you're still out here donating to Umar school. That shit through. And And I'ma work cause I ain't going out lazy, bruh. Thought he was conscious, but the homie just played me, bruh. The house of consciousness is going out crazy, bruh. They crazy, bruh. Look. You showing your hidden colors like Tariq Nasheed. A bunch of pseudo-information I don't think I need. Probably lying on the text, ask divine as Zion Lex. Just get that microphone ready. With Metal Netta, I'm Stone Jetty. A Ujahu, a Saw Imhotep. Y'all probably timid still on them Bobby Hemming teachings. I'm in Gozy with the DNA. Cats corny and it's killing me too. You talk that black shit, but you look Arab like Gorilla Hebrew. You need therapy, they telling me just chillin', be cool. I'm a magi orchard, you a sad guy talking. And I'ma work cause I ain't going out lazy, bruh. Thought he was conscious, but the homie just played me, bruh. The house of consciousness is going out crazy, bruh. They crazy, bruh.
Yo. Alright. It's kind of clapping. You know you could get that, right? I'll be happy when people go cop that album. You get that right here. On the Bandcamp, casual Bandcamp. You got to put casual 1, the number 1. But if you type casual Bandcamp in Google, my shit pop up. How y'all doing? So I didn't necessarily prepare a presentation with the research question, why were the gods of ancient Egypt black? But it's a question that we can provide a lot of information. I don't necessarily know if we can answer that question, but we can bring forth a lot of information that bring us up to speed on the black reality of the ancient Egyptians. You feel me? It's page 63, SOT 12. We waiting for him to bring page 63. Since he probably 62, 63. I hope he at home now. Yesterday he was out in the streets, didn't have the book. You feel me? Peace to the chat. What's up, Seth Imhotep? Good seeing you. What's up, Z Muffin? Ty Barbie. So what we'll do, we'll ask our questions, we'll talk about it, then we'll look at some primary source material to see how we even formed those conclusions. And since I'm the one talking right now, I guess it's going to be to see how I came to these conclusions. We definitely know that it's not a controversy or it's not a debate. We clearly see the color of some ancient Egyptian gods. They're painted with a black hue. Some of these same deities, Neteru, whatever you want to call them for lack of better words, but that's not the subject right now, so allow me to say what they say in Egyptological books, just for the teaching. But some of these black gods that we see, we also find them represented with a different hue at some times, particularly in the case of Osiris, Osir. In the case of Osir, we can find him in a few different colors. You'll find a blue Osir. You'll find a green Osir. Right? And so then the question is, well, we know there aren't green people, and we know there aren't blue people. So maybe whatever symbolism that's reflected by the blue and green Osiris, maybe also the black Osiris is included in that, as well as the black Ahmose Nefertari, the black Ramses II, the black Deification III, and all of these effigies, we see them, and even Mentuhotep II. When they leave these images of themselves, is often written off as something, and you could probably take note of this, something Egyptologists like to call, what they like to call it, Osirian symbolism. So they say Osiris, then you get Osirian symbolism, right? So they saying that when people are painting themselves black, it is to symbolize them as a part of the Osirian tradition. Now, you could give that type of answer to people who, you know, really ain't tripping that hard. But if you go in and you start looking, the evidence or the details don't necessarily speak towards that, or, you know, it don't, nah. You need to come up with a better answer. First of all, let me see. Let me just think. Just by way, like, to use the words of Dr. Mario Beatty, I'll say by way of conclusion, if you don't get to the end of this video, I'll say that I found in my limited research, as I often say, I found the blackness to have obviously multiple meanings, but sometimes in a grand sense of what we see when related to what they call Osirian symbolism, it is just simply a representation of divine monarchy in the afterlife, where the original divine monarch in the afterlife being Osir. So a divine king, the divine ruling class are these black gods. How did they develop this concept? Dang, can someone answer that question? You know, these are just humble contributions to the subject and not all the way answers all the time. How would they develop a concept of blackness being related to divine monarchy in the afterlife? And does that rule out any of the blackness having to do with them people physically being black? These we talk about, in most instances, I'm talking about Neteru, ancient Egyptian deities, so to speak. And so we got to talk about that too, because there's an overlap here. In the case of Osir or Osiris, we have mythological overlap. Because in some tales, Osiris was said to be a man from the south. Particularly, you reference a secondary source, which is Strabo. All right. If you reference Strabo telling his people what the Egyptians said, they said that Osiris was an Ethiopian sent out. He was a colonist sent out by the Ethiopians. So that statement says from the South, because a colonist in Egypt sent out by the Ethiopians in that time period would be from the South. All right. So the overlap is based in something that we probably experience every day, but we don't notice it because we don't live through the long time periods that it really takes for deification to take place. Pac ain't deified yet, but he on his way. You see, it start with legend and stuff like that. But these things go through processes in the human mind and in humanity. Y'all know how that works. First, someone is great in their physical existence, meaning the legend of something that doesn't exist is the creation of Hollywood and folk tales and drama. We talking about real legend. So what is legend actually? This isn't the definition of legend, but I understand what legend is, being called one so much. Some people might take that like it mean you old or something. But I gave a lot of thought to what some people mean when they say that. And just to be brief, it means in the sense of just being humble, it means you have possibly done great things that I have not witnessed. Now, if you witnessed it, right, somebody told them, they heard, you hear a legend of a person. You can also recite the legend and then you witnessed it and you are one helping the legend to live on. But legend, if it survives, and if it's so great, I'm not talking about the average stuff, but if it's so great, it becomes deified in a way. It starts to reach a level of greater than man. Like this dude was like the rawest ever, you know. And eventually, throughout some cultures, certain people reach the level of veneration. Well, they get venerated before they are. So like humans sometimes get venerated and they're deified through the same process. So this overlap that I'm talking about is the myth and legend of Osiris being a true man who taught ancient Egyptians agriculture. Now, am I saying this right? Strabo said that, but if you reference what Plutarch says, and you know, they trying to teach the same people. They're not trying to teach Black people with their books back then. And when I say that, I mean Africans. They were trying to teach people from their continent what they experienced in Egypt. So think about that perspective. If Strabo was to say that Osiris was a colonist sent out by the Ethiopians, and then we could particularly find Plutarch saying that Osiris was also from the South, but Plutarch spoke on the subject of this video. Plutarch spoke on why Osiris was Black. And he gives the most revealing information from a secondary source coming from his time period. Around the turn of the century-ish, right? Yeah. Or, you know, or turn of the millennium, I should say. But he said they take it kind of far. Paraphrasing, he didn't say those exact words. He said Osiris was dark because he came from the south. And he's the one, Plutarch is the one who lets us know that, well, from his perspective of what he seemed to learn, that because of this, and we have to, if we can spend time analyzing this statement, we might come to some conclusions. He was dark because he came from the south. Note that. And also that he represented the Nile. For some strange reason, he did give no reference to Happy with the Nile. He referenced, this is Plutarch referencing Osiris, saying that they seen the Nile as Osiris, right? Not the silk, not the black mud or nothing, but the actual Nile River. And to prove what property of the Nile they were talking about, he said, what did he say? He said that they, because of this reason, they attributed the life-giving properties to moisture. So we have to follow this dialogue because it's going to lead into a world of things. So he said they attributed the life-giving properties to moisture. And since moisture darkens things, they developed this concept of life, not death in darkness, but life in darkness. You get that from Plutarch. Now, he also said, and this will lead into a conversation about the black land and the red land, because people misunderstand that, helped by the misteachings of Egyptology. And so what he says about the black land and the red land, I'm sorry. He says, and I don't want to please take that back, because he's not talking about the black land and the red land yet. He's talking about darkness and moisture, since he had a concept that moisture made things dark. He even explained his erroneous concept. He was like, but anyway, he went on to say that things that were fiery, arid, and dry. Okay? They got the color red. So let's remember this. Things that were moist and held life-giving properties. Because of Osiris, that was black symbolism from Plutarch. And things that were fiery, arid, and dry got the red color. Now, Plutarch went on to say something that is, you must take note of this. He said, and I'll show you the sources in a minute. He said, because of this, the ancient Egyptians did not like to associate with people of a reddish, sallow color. If you look up reddish, sallow, if I'm saying that right, it means red, yellow, reddish yellow color. Do y'all believe Strabo said that? No, he didn't. Plutarch said it. Do y'all believe Plutarch said that? He said Asar was from the south. He was dark. They associated the life-giving properties with moisture, and it made things dark. Things that were fiery, he didn't say red, remember. He said fiery, arid, and dry. He didn't say things that were red or he said things that are fiery, arid, and dry are associated with the color red. Oh, well, why does that make sense? Because we're going to start to analyze the black land and the red land. And it's by way of it being fiery, arid, and dry that it receives its name, the red land. And right along that same line of thinking, not because the soil is black, because they didn't think the soil had life-giving properties, but they thought that the water and the moisture, which made all things dark to them, to Plutarch. He might have been wrong, but this is his explanation. Since it made things dark, it had the life-giving properties, and that's why it's associated with black. But people see that the other way around, and so let me try to, they see that backwards. The first backwards way we were taught it was that the ancient Egyptians thought the soil was magical, in the words of Karakuni. Magical? That they thought this fertile soil was so much. But they learned that when the soil wasn't moist and damp and wet, it didn't have the same life-giving properties, and they began to attribute that to the moisture, which made things dark. So I don't know how far beyond that secondary source you can go to substantiate that, because from the ancient Egyptian perspective, they had another deity who represented the Nile River and will be happy. And when we look through the attestations of Happy, and I put some of my good partners up to this, to find the attestation where Happy and Kemet is even in the same sentence. Happy being the god of the Nile, and Kemet, that's why they're in the same sentence, because it's just been black. But we probably found one or two. I think we were scrutinizing where Happy was supposedly bringing life to, what was he, reviving or causing the earth to live. But in that sentence, they didn't use the word Kemet either. But I don't want to get off the subject and start talking about Kemet. I want to talk more about the Netchers. And so from a long time ago, we've heard from scholars like Ashrakwesi that Osiris was the Lord of the perfect black. Who remember hearing that in the early 2000s or what have we? You know what I'm saying? Osiris was the Lord of the perfect black. Well, there was a brother named Lord Abba who wrote a Facebook post challenging this back in the early, maybe 9-10 years ago. And because I could not recall the source that I had cited at that time, I just simply put up the Facebook post. Where you can see here it says, Osiris means Lord of the perfect black. Can this be found in Egypt anywhere? And and the subtitle reads, Osiris means or was called Lord of the perfect black. So we are black people? I don't think so. And that's what his document was, to address what he calls an informal fallacy here. So in response to his text, I just told him once, yeah, no, you're wrong. we can find attestations to that. The word for perfect is, see, I'll just read it here. I'd say the attestation is from the circa 1st century BC, from circa 1st century BC from a Greco-Roman period. This collection of Egyptian papyri was written in Greek, where the term for black was melani. So we got to stop right there, because we all know that that's the same word that we get melanin from. M-E-L-A-N-I. Right? And the phrase for of the perfect black, or melani, was ev some Greek I can't read. Chinu Malavi. Chinu Malavi, right? I can still read a little Greek. It ain't that hard. In Greek, but I know I spelled that wrong anyway. The primary source is the Greek magical papyri, PGM 7, 490 to 504. The entire sentence is, I invoke thee, Lady Isis, with whom the god Damien both unite. He who is Ev Tui Teli, whatever, Malavi. The Lord. Now, a good secondary source is excerpts and fragments edited by George Robert Stowe Mead on page 155, discussing on the black rite, where they ponder what black meant in the context of this sentence. All right. So if somebody wanted to check those sources, you would be able to see that there is something to calling Osiris the Lord of the Great Back. But we're going to do you one better. And I should have had this in present mode. I was tripping. All right. So you can see it there. But we'll do you one better and go straight to the primary sources. And then we'll put Thesaurus Lingua Egypti on the screen, so you can see that the qualified scholars of today translate Kimware, which is a name of Osiris or Wasir, as the Great Black One. Now we can probably see where Ashwakwezi gets, and even those Greeks who wrote those manuscripts in their time period, where they got Lord of the Perfect Black. Lord of the Perfect Black is whack. They don't say that. But they was right, see? But see, they messed it up because Lord of the Perfect Black makes the black other than the Necha himself. The title doesn't say all gods, but stick around, Malik, and I guarantee you'll learn something. Right now, you should be learning that the God we're discussing, Osiris, if you did not know this, Osiris is painted black, but he has a name for his black effigy, which is Kim-Ur. Yes, Malik, you and other Egyptologists can find Osiris painted in other colors, but you and other Egyptologists will never, or have not, or yet to present an epithet or a name for those renditions. Meaning, he's painted that way somewhere, but he wasn't called that. He was called, the title of scrutiny, the Great Black One, as others were. So we're using primary sources. If you don't know how to read ancient Egyptian texts, this right here says Kim. And it is in the adjectival position behind what? Well, no, I'll take that back. This says Kim because we're reading the text from a different way, the dictionary way. This says Kim, you got behind it. Black, great. So this is why the dictionary reference you see here, you can look it up yourself, has the translation as the great black one. So at this point, more research questions pop up. Because along the lines of what we get from Plutarch, telling us Osiris was dark because he came from the south and he represented great these life-giving properties. Nothing about him being the great black one offsets that. If we think about what we know about divine monarchy and him becoming deified and representing the chief king in the afterlife, these two concepts are not in conflict. They can coexist right now, as he is, if you let Plutarch tell it, the great black one because he come from the south and because he was related to moisture. Right? But the problem is we see this blackness expanded through the divine chief family of ancient Egypt, or the ancient Egyptian Neteru or pantheon. And I'll show you how it spread. But first I want to show you sources you can look up as you can screenshot everything you see on the screen. And let's do it. So check it out. We have it substantiated here that he was considered the great black one. You can find maybe 13 other attestations to show us that this is true. But if we look through his family, I also gave you another rendition of him as Kimi. Okay? Kimi. Now, when we start to read the ancient Egyptian text, when we see this determinative right here, the hieroglyph, it is written for the reader to know to focus on the color. Literally. That is why this determinative is here for this word. And it could even get worse because this determinative is also used in the word for skin color. When you want someone to focus on skin color. But I won't go that far here. They just want you to focus on the color in his name. That's why he is the black one. All right. Now, we know Osiris was married to Isis. This is Wasir and Aset. So let's see what concept holds up. Because we're scrutinizing divine monarchy as well as Southern roots being the cause of this blackness. Well, if Osiris is black because he's the divine monarch in the afterlife, that's one single position. You the king. So I said it's black then because what? Because she's a divine monarch too? Well, I expanded to say Osir is the divine monarch. I accept the concept in this way. Osiris being the divine monarch and the other black Neterus represent divine monarchy. Okay? They're not the leader. like with seer, and I'll show you how we can substantiate this with primary text. But right now I got a secondary source on the screen, which is the vertible, right? And coming up out of that, we learn, if you could start to read German, like I was telling my man the other day on tour, when he asked me what Schwartz, I said, no, we say Schwarzer. Then I asked him, what is Schwarzer Frau? And he said, a black woman. That's my partner, bruh. We on hip hop tour in the van. Niggas be smart. We on tour and something just made us start talking about Schwarzer. And then he said, you know what Schwarzer mean? No, he said, you know what Schwartz mean? I said, no, you mean Schwarzer. But you can say Schwartz, but Schwarzer Frau, y'all know what that means, right? Black woman. So now Von, we see, I can't tell you what this is right here. But Von, Isis, Os is ass. Just take the L out. You start learning some German. Von is of. I don't know how they got that out of that. Of Isis as a black woman. You see that? Go on and screenshot it and ask somebody. Now, when you come to the Medu Neter and read, you see that same hieroglyph that I told you, when they write it, it makes you focus. It means to focus on the color. Feel me? They mean when we write this black here, we talking about the color. Now, everyone who reads Medu Neter know that this is an elementary word. Some say sit, some say sat. I'll probably say sit to avoid saying sat, but sit, sat. It is a woman. Sa will be a man, sat is a woman. Black woman. It even say it right here in the German. And there go the source for you. So the question, we still following this. If Osiris was black because he was from the South, it'll be consistent with her being black because of that too. But if Osiris is black because he's the divine monarch, then we got to expand that concept when including her, because she ain't the divine monarch. But we got to expand this concept to divine monarchy, which I'll accept. And I did it like this in my book to be fair to both concepts. But I'm showing you which ones stand up the best. Now, what if I set the goddess and Kimmy, the black one, the natural? What if they had an offspring? First, I guess their offspring should possibly be born into this divine monarchy. So if the black symbolizes divine monarchy, the offspring could turn out black because of this divine monarchy as well. But let's ponder the other side of the concept. What if it was just like what Plutarch said, they was just from the South and they was dark? So we got the daddy dark, Kimmy the black one. We got the mama dark. So how should, and who knows, I know y'all know, don't nobody who obviously know answer this question. Let new people answer this. Who is the offspring of Osiris and Aset, of Asar and Aset? Who is the offspring of Asar and Aset? It's Heru. Shout out, you can still write it. Heru Horus. So if I click to the next page and I gave you Remember when I told you that this could also mean skin color? I wanted to put that on the screen so people could see I did not mess that up. The skin of a man, but let me be clear, this is a complete different word bearing the same classifier. So this word, kemet, is in the same category as this word, awin, or some will say yun, whatever you win, which is color. And this word, yenim, which is the skin of a man, hide of an animal, or skin color. Okay? So right now, by the way they wrote the Medu Neter, just be clear, nothing's divine here. Let's just be clear. This don't say nothing about divine monarchy. This says the woman is black. And it wants you to note the color by putting this determinative here. All right? Now, just because this is a dictionary rendition, we can't expound on it, but it was found by Aldorf Armand and it is in the vertible. So let's continue. Well, how would their offspring turn out? If daddy was black, mama was black, well, let's go check their son. Well, okay, so before we do that, I actually have one quote, a different quote from Plutarch. Because remember, Plutarch is the same one who said Osiris was black because he came from the south. But read this. In Plutarch's De Isis, this is just Isis and Osiris, page 451 cites Daumas reading a Dendera text that reads, Aset was born a black and ruddy woman. Now, if you're one of the type of people who really do the research and you're gonna go look this up, I'm gonna tell you what you're gonna find. On top of this, when I cropped it out, they have another attestation. It says black and red. It says the black and red woman. But now you can clearly see, I don't know what black and red was. We was trying to figure that out. Like, is that brown? But if you come to what he says, the black and ruddy woman is going right along with that other dictionary entry from Armand. Right? But you can take this one too. So if you born black, then something about the divine monarchy starting to fall apart. Straight up, peace to KB for the contribution is much appreciated. Right? Let's keep it real. We trying to scrutinize which concept is stronger. You got to give them both fair play. They either black because they divine monarchs in the afterlife, or they black because they came from the south, bro. Plutarch de Isis and Osiris, page 451, cites Daumas reading a Dendera text that reads, Isis, Aset, was born a black and ruddy woman endowed with life. Hold on. Remember when I told you what Plutarch, see? Remember, everything I'm saying is consistent. Plutarch said that blackness was attached to what? Come on, y'all, don't be forgetting this. Plutarch said that blackness was attached to the life-giving properties of moistures. See? So this is why she is black and ruddy, endowed with life. Sweet of love, whatever that means. And that's, you could get that out of this publication, the in Research Account, Volume 9, page 29. So once we get to the offspring, he by way surely should be black, right? But we don't find out that he's black by a straight admission. We find out the same way we found out that the ancient Egyptians were black in Herodotus readings. By my memory, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Herodotus did not set out to, now you gotta check game on this right here. Herodotus did not set out to necessarily inform his people what color the ancient Egyptians were. His people already knew they was black. And I could prove it. Herodotus wasn't even talking about the ancient Egyptians. Herodotus was describing the Colchians. And he used a metaphor, a simile. He used like. He said they're black like. No, he didn't say they black like. He said they got dark skin, flat noses, and woolly hair like the Egyptians and Ethiopians. Now think about that. He wasn't describing the Egyptians and Ethiopians. He was using them as a reference of something that everybody knew had flat hair and woolly hair. Flat noses and woolly hair. He said he wasn't teaching them, he teaching them about the Colchians. What same happens here. This says to cause to be black like Heru. So what is Heru in this sentence? A reference point for blackness. To cause to be black like Heru or red like Sutek. Now we got an issue here. Because I just gave you two things. And you just gotta look close to just see what you just received. First, what did I give? I offered here a presentation of a dichotomy between black and red that don't got shit to do with the land. Excuse my language, or not. Well, however you do it. But you could excuse it though, beg my pardon. Right? It don't got nothing to do with the land. Well, I know this text. And even better than it not having anything to do with the land, I need to take that back and rephrase that statement, because this is even stronger than that. This text tells us why. This text tells us why the black land is the black land and the red land is the red land. A magical papyri, New Kingdom, Scorpion, Magic, Papyrus, Chester, Beatty, 7. So outside of these quotes to the left, they're talking about, they're causing this to be black like Heru and red like Sutek. So what is black like Heru? Because we don't know what red means yet. But we're probing black from two different ways. And I have to say, in this attestation, black like Heru lends more towards divine monarchy and less towards that this author was talking about black like Heru, like coming from the South. But it doesn't nullify the other concept. See what I'm saying? But this will be a good text to go into and to read the whole thing, because you start to learn that this is a reward. If I remember correctly, Scorpion magic, it might not be the reward, so I don't want to say too much. But the cause to be black like Heru, we see that the Trinity is all black. The two parents are black and the son was black. So you can go read, plenty of scholars try to find out, they try to attribute something other to this blackness. They messed up and tried to attribute death to it with no primary sources at all. Death and blackness are related in a sense of a natural process called black putrefaction, but we'll get to that in a month after, in maybe 30 minutes, because that's part of this discussion. So also notice that Sutek is red. And what did Plutarch say? This has nothing, this isn't Plutarch's quote. This is from a primary. But Plutarch said, what did they attribute to the color red? Things that are fiery, arid, and dry. We'll understand in a moment how fiery developed even in our minds to the day as hostile and angry. It did that in ancient Egyptian times. The color red started being associated with hostility and anger. But we made our point about that Trinity. They all black. So is it reasonable to say that ancient Egyptians were black? Well, what this got to do with the ancient Egyptians? We're talking about their deities. Well, let's hold on. Because when we want to probe the concept of Osiris possibly actually being from the South, since we got two secondary sources that say that and say he was black for those reasons, or he was represented as black for those reasons, we're going to go to two scholastic texts: the Oxford Encyclopedia of Ancient Egypt and the Oxford Handbook of Ancient Nubia. So the Oxford Encyclopedia of Ancient Egypt, volume 3, page 28, when talking about calling ancient Egyptians black, we read this statement: thus, by modern American standards, it is reasonable to characterize Egyptians as black while acknowledging the scientific evidence for the physical diversity of Africans. Acknowledged. But that ain't what we really talking about. But we just wanted to touch on that real quick. We more or less talking about how some of these black effigies like this, they write it off as Osirian symbolism and never acting like it has any actual significance regarding the appearance of these people. This is a person here. He's not a deity. This is an actual person, and he didn't have a cult. Was there a cult of Mentuhotep? There's nothing to say that he should be considered a divine monarch. There's no parts of that. He didn't even, well, Let's see what they say in the encyclopedia. A statue of the Middle Kingdom founder Nefertari Mentuhotep with black skin may point to Nubian ancestry, although the use of black may simply reflect the statue's Osirian symbolism. Now look, see, this is why I want to say this is a good show for you. If you're interested in this subject matter, you want to know why? Because this is all we've been talking about. That's the only two options they got. It either mean that they was really black or it mean this other stuff about Osirian symbolism. Now if you continue reading this section of the Oxford Encyclopedia, Smith gives us only more evidence that he must have been a Nubian, and less evidence that this has anything to do with Osirian symbolism. His next sentence reads, artistic and physical evidence suggests that his wives, Ashayit, Hinenet, Kimsit, which also is a black woman, Kimsit, and Sade were probably Nubian. If you take the name Kimsit and flip it around, it says black woman. The same way Sat Kim was Aset. Kimsit is like the same thing. One of his wives was literally called that. So you see here, the ancient Egyptian, well, the Oxford Encyclopedia for Ancient Egypt tends to agree that this black color possibly has something to do with Nubian ancestry. So when we come to Ahmose Nefertari, when we talk about Tupac and legend turning into deity, and we are witnessing that process, or we have witnessed a lot of that process, and maybe in 100 years, people will talk about Pac and certain people like they was like deities. Maybe not, but you get what I'm saying. This sister here, and her life story gives you all the evidence leaning towards she probably was really black. But the fact that she was deified gives a strong evidence in a case that she was probably painted black because she was a divine monarch. You can't say in her case she's painted black because of Osirian symbolism. But if you expand the concept to divine monarchy, you can indeed include her and say, no, she's black because she's a divine monarch. But I'm about to bust that all up right now. So if we understand Ahmose Nefertari, she's like the chief matriarch of the 18th dynasty, but they don't teach it to us like that. You probably never even heard it told to you in that way, but she is the chief matriarch of the 18th dynasty. She most possibly was the daughter of who? What was Sennacherib? I forgot. I'm gonna pull up his name. It's just evading me right now, and I apologize. It's on the next slide, so it's not a big deal. But I wish I could just remember before I click it. Anyway, her and Ahmose the First, and now you know Ahmose the First, right? Why did I say her and Ahmose the First? Because we got to look at the people related to her who had a big issue with these foreigners in Egypt. In fact, it was her family that finished getting all of, no, it wasn't Tutmos. It was her family that finished getting, it was Sennacherib. No, not Sennacherib. You're going to make me click over now. His name is Hold on, here go the family tree. Oh, Senkuin Rattau. My bad, Senkuin Rattau. She's the daughter of Senkuin Rattau. All right? I had to do it. Sorry about that. Because we started playing guesswork. We can't do guesswork. Now, Senkuin Rattau, if you go look at what the anthropologists say about his skulls, he say it don't even, they say it don't even fit into what the other skulls from his time period. They say you got to fit his skull into the earlier kings, which look more Nubian. They use those words. Right on Wiki, you can find that. So if her daddy's skull can't even be fit with the other kings, and then let me go to the family tree for you, just so you can just see how this works. So we got Senkuin Rattau the first, we got Senkuin Rattau the second, and somebody who created Ahmose Nefertari. We don't got the rightful Senkuin Rattau the second, right? Now look, we also got Ahotep the first giving us Ahmose and Ahmose the first, right? Now y'all know Ahmose and Ahmose, but what we know about the relationship between Ahmose the first and his wife Ahmose Nefertari. Now we could kind of see it, right? With that name Ahmose, born of the moon. Ahmose the first and Ahmose Nefertari, the beautiful one who was born of the moon, the beautiful one, I guess, who was born of the moon. They bore unto them who? Amenhotep the first. But what we got to learn here is crazy. Because we already know Ahmose and Ahmose was fighting to get them others up out of Egypt, particularly the people ruled by the Hikakasu, the Aamu. They wanted them up out of there. We already know how they depicted them as looking, right? But Ahmose the first and Ahmose Nefertari were not deified. Ahmose Nefertari and Amenhotep the first were deified. All right, remember we talked about Tupac and legend? They was real people who lived and did some great things that everybody didn't see, and people talked about the legend of what they did, and they became deified. Not Ahmose and Ahmose for kicking out them Hyksos, but Ahmose the first counterpart and their son. So let's break this down. First, let's read what the encyclopedia say. Another example sometimes cited in the appearance of Amenhotep the first's queen mother. Why did he say that? He didn't say Ahmose the first's counterpart. He said Amenhotep the first's queen mother, Ahmose Nefertari, who is consistently shown with a black complexion, contrary to the norms of representing Egyptian women. While various explanations have been advanced for this, other than her actual appearance, there is one case where she is shown directly opposite Amenhotep in a manner that leaves no doubt that this was actually her appearance. So let me ask y'all a question. Was the ancient Egyptians black? If she looked like this, and she was a divine monarch who was deified, is she black? Then that blackness, I mean, now it's starting to lead like you had to kind of be black first. I'm just keeping it a buck. I'll show you the gods who got turned black. And I'll show you them primary sources like we often do. But I'm saying if her daddy, she was a human first. So let's be clear, she was a human before she got deified. And her daddy, what they say about her father? He should be grouped with the Nubian skulls. It's safe to say she looked the way that they represented the Nehesi, the Nubians, with this dark hue. Now, if you notice page 188 of the Oxford Handbook of Ancient Egypt says, there is one instance, no, there's more than one, and I have more than one, but they only had one. There's one case where she is shown directly opposite Amenhotep in a manner that leaves no doubt that this was actually her appearance. So when we go to the next slide, this concept of becoming black because you're deified and dead, it falls apart. It should not ever be used in the scholastic playground anymore. Because if I got this information and I could put this out and show you it and prove it, then why would y'all even be talking about that in academia? Y'all fronting. So when I click this, everything they said falls right apart. Now, it's something we need to know about Ahmose Nefertari and Amenhotep I. Not only was he her son, and she is his queen mother, right? But they both were deified. Now we're saying Biggie and Pac, not just Pac. They both were deified. And only one has this black skin. So if you the type that see this and keep saying that, I don't need to debate with you no more. Because it's definitive that is wrong. That don't make no sense. They're not black because they're deified. Because of these two cults, you tell me which one lasted the longest. If you just do Egyptology coffee table books, you might think the cult of Ahmose Nefertari was bigger than the cult of Amenhotep I. It may have been. It may be more widespread because we find her in more tombs that ain't hers. But temporally, in a sense of time, the cult of Amenhotep I lasted longer than the cult of Ahmose Nefertari. When people stopped and forgot all about her, they still was rocking Amenhotep I. So what does that say for your concept of they black because they dead? They black because they dead. They black, get the damn blip. Black definitely has to do with death. Has that been 30 minutes? Because we are going to talk about that black putrefaction, but time has not availed yet. Both deified, only one is black. So this is the source that the encyclopedia was talking about. That now you can't say she black because of any deification. You have to go with physical appearance. You don't have to, because my concept of divine monarchy works here. She could still be black because she's a divine monarch and he's not. In the afterlife, he's not a ruler or a king. People deified him, but that's from the earthly perspective. But I'm saying though, he could have just been accepted as whatever. I'm trying to reconcile the data. So we're gonna show we're gonna show you what blackness goes back to. It don't go back to death. I can tell you now. The original divine monarch, Osiris, was black for the reason to resemble the blackness of his mother, or should I say the blackness of the cosmos. And you can find a lot of that echoed in what the Greeks learned about the name Ethiopian. That don't mean burnt face in the sense of toast. It means burnt face in the sense of the cosmic fire. E-D-E. How do you say A-E-I? I do not know how to pronounce A-E-I, but that is the word. E-A-D-E. It is two words at the root of Ethiopian, because people stop at the ether and they don't go look at the root to the ether. The root to the ether is A-E-D-E, which translates back to always running. And it was a root to the cosmos, how the stars always ran through the sky. And out of this, I don't know how to say his Greek name, Anaxagoras or whatever, A-N-A-X, Anaxagoras extracted this concept of cosmic fire. Now, when we see that they say burnt, when they say Ethiopian, it seemed that they was alluding to their black faces looking like the cosmos. But I could get into that at another time. That's only like the remnants of what we see here, because if we go, the word for, they said it in ancient Egyptian, they said Zama Kakao. All right. And just understand that Zama Kakao is different than Kakao. You have to find Zama Kakao in primary text. You probably could find it, but I'll show it today. But you probably could find it in a dictionary, but it's not the most revealed concept. Zama Kakao is unity with the blackness of the cosmos. So in the text that I will reveal, this is, what is the brother's name? Osiris. Osiris is, they're going through a funerary ritual and they're making a person who wasn't black enough upon death to be considered a divine monarch. Yes, because you have to match the damn effigy of the god upon being deceased. So if you wasn't black enough, they took your not black enough ass and put bitumen on you, excuse my language. But that's what they did. They put bitumen on you. on your deceased body. Here's the thing. No mummified corpse is black because of black putrefaction. I'm not speaking absolutely, but mummification resists, fights against black putrefaction. If you are mummified, you're not turning black. I want y'all to peep game. People had us walking through all this different shit. The process of black putrefaction starts 3 to 5 days after one is deceased. If you die and your body is preserved in those 3 to 5 days, this process never starts. This is why we can find Chinese mummies with yellow skin. Right? We can find South American naturally preserved mummies with light red skin, a reddish, sallow color. So upon being deceased, we learn of a practice of rubbing a chemical called bitumen on the deceased so that they can, quote, reflect the image of the god, of the nature, to become what? Zama Kakao. Damn, what if I made up all this? like that's why really though, this shit is better than the Billy Carson shit, because if you just show people the truth and you go down deep, they don't got nothing that linked together this damn good. And then I'm about to put the primary sources on the screen. So do y'all understand what I'm telling you? All deceased people in ancient Egypt wanted to become a Wasir. Not a Wasir, but they wanted to become one with Osiris. The same way Christians want to become one with Jesus or the body of Christ. You can add yourself to the body of Christ. Likewise, ancient Egyptians could metaphorically add themselves to the body of Osiris and become a Wasir. And it's not like 15 million Wasirs walking around in the afterlife. They all become one of the body of Wasir in the afterlife. Right? Now, a research to do is to find the deceased people who did not become a Wasir. You feel what I'm saying? And to show forth like what happened in this person's life. What about somebody who got buried who was not Ma'at Karu or not justified? But anyway, I don't want to go on. I don't want to mess that up. So in your funerary rites at becoming a Wasir, we're going to look to some research that was scientific research done on the chemical use of bitumen and some of the results they brought forth, saying that the use of bitumen increased in the New Kingdom on the deceased, but they only concluded that there was some shift in the funerary tradition that will cause the accelerated use of bitumen on the deceased. They made that up. They couldn't even figure it out. We figured it out. It was more white people. It was more people, you could call them white. It was more people that wasn't dark enough to even, you had to rub some shit on you. Now remember this, what I said. If you're mummified, you don't go through a process of black putrefaction. Yet when Pepi the First, was it Pepi the Second? When Pepi the First died, Aset found him with his black skin, all in primary text. It say black skin. And Shu picked up the black skin. No, Aset found him gray and black. And Shu picked up his black skin, took him to be amongst the Neteru. Pepi wasn't a Neter, nor, well, I don't want to say Pepi didn't have bitumen on his carcass. I will say the report says that the use of bitumen, they wasn't saying it was to make people black. I'm telling you that it was, and I can prove it. Now, they say the use of bitumen increased in the New Kingdom because of some shift in the funerary tradition, but primary sources contradict that. Because since the Old Kingdom, maybe about the 5th dynasty, a deceased one would want to become a Wasir. Nothing changed with that. All the way up to the New Kingdom, all the way up to the late period, nothing changed with that. You can find all the texts where they are addressing the deceased as a Wasir. So what did change is the people who wanted to become a Wasir didn't have a dark enough hue to even match the efficacy of Wasir upon going into the afterlife. Not even leprosy. They just wasn't black enough. They wasn't dark enough. So do I need to start proving that with the primary sources? Because then I could write that out for the rest of this show. No, it ain't time to do that yet. Let me pull that up real quick. I'm going to show you how to pull this up. So what we're going to be dealing with here is the ancient Egyptian text corpus, right? We're going to go into Thesaurus Lingua Egypti, and I'm going to pull up a text for you that not many have wrote books about. Because but I have. It's called Black Like Osiris. Go get my book. It's kind of cool that my book's still doing good on Amazon. I appreciate y'all. So what I'm going to do at this text corpus is click search. And we're going to search hieroglyphic, hieratic, transliteration, not in Unicode, but in manual decodage. Now, I got a slight advantage because I already know these terms. But you can just simply come down here and put in the translation line, bitumen probably, and click English, and it'll work. But I'll tell you something here, and I need us to note this. In order to pull up the chemical, the substance of Osiris, the sweat of the gods, one of the chemicals of the sweat of the gods. In order to pull it up, you have to type M, N, N, N. You probably could just do M, N, N. M, N, N. I see both of them I got in here, right? Now I want us to pay attention to those consonants. M, N, N. So I'm going to click search. And it's going to bring back first, this is why people don't be knowing how to use the text corpus right. First, it brings you back the dictionary renditions. I shouldn't have. Just notice this my name is just an error. It just says MNN. But they're bringing back dictionary entries on MNN. Right here it says to mine as gold weight, mina, a measure of weight, is a Semitic loan word. This is MNN, unclear. Menu, which is a fortress. That's not the word we're looking for. We got minette, part of a grave, part of granite sarcophagus, part of a tomb. This one is relevant, but this isn't the term we're looking for. Menu, records or annals. Now, this is minin, right? It has a little circle and 3 lines that let us know it's a mineral. Here it says asphalt. If we don't know, the major chemical in asphalt is called bitumen. All right? And it even says a resin or a pitch. So this is only a dictionary entry referencing the vertebral, right? But if we click right here, they show us the times that this word was used in ancient Egyptian text. So right now, if you just do this, you're not in the text corpus. Even though you're in the TLA, the text corpus begins when you click over here. You're just in a dictionary right here. So this isn't as useful as when you click right here, because we're going to see the 14 times that this term was used in the text corpus, right? And we'll get a sense of it. Asphalt, cucumber, and snow plant. Okay, the first entry they got for the use of this is 26th Dynasty. What's significant about the 26th Dynasty? Y'all can tell me. Asphalt, great protection, minerals be given into a fire. This is another 26th Dynasty, but it's like Ptolemy first Soter. So it's between those 2 time periods. Now we're going to start to get to something, because this is an embalming ritual. Late funerary liturgies. A ritual is a real practice. Exactly. Thanks for saying that, Jurg. Right after the Black Dynasty. So this should be all making sense. We get the 25th Dynasty. Then we get cats start talking about using bitumen on stuff. But it's going to reveal itself right here on this text. Roman period. Is the Romans black? But did these Roman people who came into Egypt mix in with the population and even some of the Greco-Roman culture? Did they espouse any ancient Egyptian tradition? Well, if you look at all the Roman sarcophagus or sarcophagi we find during the time period, we start to learn that, yes, this is funerary tradition. And you find hella Roman sarcophagus. Definitely after Kemet and a lot of the 25th Dynasty went south, but also we see the talk about this bitumen coming into play. Now let's check out this Roman period text, and we're going to deal with it for a minute. There will come to you bitumen that came out of Palestine, and the good Sephi oil that came out of Byblos. So this is an embalming ritual. And if you read the whole text, you'll find out that basically it appears that only 3 people were allowed in a person's tomb in the duat right? Because the tomb is also the duat. It seems that there were only 3 ancient Egyptian members who were allowed in the tomb during this ritual, because we read the texts that tell you how to do it. Now, in this ritual, the priest is one of the people. Who are the 3 people who could be in there? That's a heavy question. Some Egyptologists don't know that answer. So let me answer it the best I can. One of the people, we obviously know the priest can be in there. But there's another person, and I think he wears the jackal head. But do we know what his name is? Not Anubis. His funerary name is the Divine Sealer. I could be wrong, because the Divine Sealer might not be the jackal head one, but is a priest. The divine, from the text, we get the priest, the Divine Sealer, and it seems to be the one reading the instructions is not the priest. So I don't know if that's that other jackal-headed one we see, Anubis, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't want to say that, but yeah, but those are 3. And this text right here is all you got to read, Papyrus Bullock, to get the answers to that, because all of those 3 individuals are addressed in this text, and it tell them all what to do. One of them is the one who bust open the skull and start putting stuff in the skull, pull out the brains. They do all of that, bro, right in this text. So this is the priest reading his portion saying, there will come to you Bitumen. He's talking to the deceased that came out of Palestine. Now notice it says Palestine here, because a lot of people will like you to believe that there was some ancient Israel and all of that. Nope. They made that up. You're going to have to go into the time period of Mern Patah. But even here, they don't really say the ancient word for Palestine. We got Jahi, which we know to be an area of, so it's right here. Jahi was over there by Palestine, basically. And they would bring Bitumen out of that area. But let's keep going down, and notice this is going to be the same text. Now check this one out. The Bitumen that came out of Coptos, the overflow of, this is supposed to say Kenti Amenti. It comes to you. Now that is a line that we can't overlook quick. Where is Coptos? Coptos is about the 7th nome of Egypt. Let me show you. Nome map. And this is why people don't be knowing what they're talking about when they start talking about the Copts and stuff. And they be like, oh, I'm related to the ancient Copts. Shut up. You don't even know what you're talking about. Ain't no ancient Copts. So Coptos isn't ancient Egyptian. The word is Geb too. Now you see Geb, TU, right here on the map. I said about the 7th nome. I should have said the 5th. See, Coptos. So they told the deceased, don't worry, the Bitumen that comes up out of Palestine, you're going to get some of that. But you also going to get the Bitumen that comes up out of Coptos. What's the difference between those 2 Bitumens? Well, this Bitumen that came out of Palestine and the good Sephi oil that came out of Byblos, it is not stated that this is the substance of a netcher. But down here, the Bitumen that came out of Coptos is what? It is the outflow of Kenti Amenti. The outflow is just their translations. It is the substance of, or it is what comes forth out of the netcher, Kenti Amenti. It literally belongs to him. So look, neti, right? Look, let me show you. So you see this word, liquid. You see that? Liquid. Let me show you the next word. This is an indirect genitive. Liquid belonging to, this is belonging to, right? Look, belonging to is a genitive, see? Liquid belonging to who? Kenti Amentiu. Who is Kenti Amentiu? We got to know the divine epithets for people. Kenti Amentiu is Osiris. How do I know that? First of all, that we're not in a time period where Kenti Amentiu was other than Osiris. This is the Roman period. So it is the Bitumen that came out of Coptos. It is the outflow of Kenti Amentiu. So this black substance that they're about to rub on the deceased is literally the substance, the outflow of the black god Osiris. Oh, I need to make that bigger on the screen. I'm tripping. My bad. I just looked over at my monitor. So y'all can see that. And notice as I go down the screen, it's going to be the same text. Papyrus Bullock 3, Papyrus Bullock 3. I could click into the text and read it, but it takes a lot longer. This is just zooming to all the sentences that talk about bitumen. So the next mention of bitumen is, there will come to you. So think about it. This is not this person's not dark. I'm just telling you that from my observations. It's in the Roman period. They about to rub bitumen on him. The practice of the use of putting bitumen on the deceased increased in a time period where it wasn't as many dark black people in Egypt. So let's keep going. There will come to you the selfie resin that came up out of the juniper and the bitumen that came up out of taparu. All right. Now, if I came to this one, this is another attestation to bitumen being straight from Osiris's body. It just doesn't say it in the same sentence, but trust me, if I click into this, it's going to say, may he bring you the discharge that comes from him. The asphalt is bitumen. That comes from his body. So hold on. We got the black god represented with a black family. We trying to understand the symbolism of this blackness. And we see upon being deceased, those who did not match the effigy of the deity, and trust me, I'll reveal this later in the same text, because Zama is in the same text. So those who did not match the effigy of the divine monarch, they got this black substance rubbed on them so that they would be black enough to be down with the god once they met him. Now, to join the body of the god, I should say. But you see clearly, it is the asphalt that comes from his body. I'm gonna click into it because a lot of y'all might not think they talking about Osiris right here. So I'm gonna click into it just so you can go to the line above it. Look, it's the asphalt that comes from his body. Look, Osiris, dang, comes to you from Coptos, the great god of Coptos, who is at the head of the house of the gold. May he bring to you the discharge that comes from him. Shoot, like why'd I be on YouTube doing that? Anyway, nobody said I did that. I'm tripping. So the Lady of Lords comes to you, who is the greater renown, bringing you bitumen. You got to remember, this is the priest over a dead body saying rituals in an embalming ritual. And as he reads it, either the divine sealer or the other person is doing this stuff as he's reading it. And if you read the whole text, you can see it's evident, because at one point he'd be like, now bust open his head and pour in the juice. I was like, damn, this is crazy. But anyway, bringing you bitumen that comes to you from Punt. and the fragrant substances in abundance from the land of God. Okay? So he got what he got? He got Palestinian bitumen he gonna use. He got Puntite bitumen he gonna use. And there's also the bitumen from Coptos, which is the most important because they are all the substance of Osiris, but that is the only one that they literally called that. Right? Now let's keep going. And be given among them once life is in grains, once bitumen of Coptos, and once natron into them. So if you understand what he's talking about, he's just talking, trust me, this is still the same ritual. So them is really just the deceased, but I don't know why they translated it as them. Maybe the word, it got this S here, so it's, but whatever. We'll keep going. Bitumen in the divine Seneb plant. All right, cool. That has nothing to do with it. Your hand is perfect through the nude ointment of Osiris, through the bitumen that came from Coptos. Now, if we click on this, I don't remember whose hand he's talking about. But this dude, the whoever's rubbing the ointments on the person, he put it on his hands. Your hand is perfect through the ointment of Osiris, through the bitumen that came out of Coptos. All right, now let's keep going. Now watch how this go. Oh, okay, but Smash, I thought originally only Anubis' name appeared in the offering formula that was believed to allow the dead to partake in the offerings they were given the substance to sustain them in the afterlife. Okay, that's a good inquiry. So let's be not confused right now. The funerary ritual, embalming ritual, is a complete different practice of going through the hall of Ma'at. And I don't know in what order they went, but I would assume that you would not even get to this process if your heart wasn't as heavy. I mean, if your heart wasn't lighter than the feather in the hall of Ma'at, right? And so therefore, I would think that that part you talking about took place, the judgment scene probably took place maybe earlier. I don't know, because this actual, this text doesn't have any mention of the judgment scene. They're only telling future priests what to do to embalm somebody, basically. So I'm glad you raised that question, Michelle Lozzi. I mean, Lazo, if I said that right. Michelle Lazo, Michelle Lizzie. All right, so let's continue. Because what we're seeing here is that first, they're going to say firsthand that we got to make you look black like Osiris. So this is when they're doing it. This is when they say it. And I'm going to click this sentence so you can see what's before this sentence. So you can see I ain't making nothing up. Your hand is thus cleansed. Remember the earlier line before that? They put the bitumen on the hands. Now, receive the bitumen for yourself or for your entire being, for your body. It says your being is perfect. It really don't say that. And I'm going to make this bigger so y'all can see for your own eyes. This is not a bad translation, but it escapes what my research is pinpointing. It's trying to elude what my research is pinpointing, so I have to take you into each word. So this word, they say receive, it's going to be like to capture, to catch, or to grasp, right? See, to receive, to take possession of, let me translate it. See, to capture, to seize, to receive, to take possession of, right? So they saying receive. Now, enact is just a dative that's saying to you. It's just, that's why they say for yourself there. Enact, you see an N and a enact. That's like a dative that says for you. So what is this? Menen, receive for you Bitumen. Now, next we got a statement that would throw a lot of us off if we didn't know the grammar of ancient Egyptian language. Because you will see this Nefer E behind this Menenin, and you might think that this is an adjective that modifies this noun right here. That's not what's happening. This starts an adjectival. It's an adjectival sentence, but it is just part of an adverbial comment, right? But it's, don't get it twisted, it's just an adjectival sentence. It's not, so this adjectival sentence is starting kind of like right here, but they got it in a comma, saying your being is perfect. They were letting this represent perfection, this word for beauty. Fine. I'm with that. Now, when we come to this word and we click it, it's not going to say being. It's going to say image. Yep, I should have said manifestation. That's what I meant. It do say being. But I meant to say it's going to say, now this is even better. Because I know my research is solid, right? And I'm telling y'all they putting this bitumen on the deceased so that he would match the effigy of the nature, right? So that he would match the image of the nature. So what are they saying right here? They said we put the bitumen on you and now you're a manifestation of a God is perfect. Let's go back. Menen Nefer Sajim Et. Your manifestation of the God is perfect. Receive the bitumen for yourself. Now you got to remember this is a real process. They was rubbing the oil on him. And at the completion, his manifestation of the God is perfect. Now watch this next line. This make it hella hard. Perfect rites will be performed for you. A perfect mummification in the skin of Seth. Now, I was like, hold on, because Seth's skin is red. So I had to scrutinize this. But what I learned is they wrap you in a blanket called the skin of Seth. See? So they completed him and rubbed all the black bitumen on him. Now his being is perfect. I still got to prove that they did this so that he could look like the black god. Well, they kind of told you because they said it's the substance of Osiris, but let us prove that it is so that you can be amongst the divine monarchs in the afterlife. So the new term we're going to look for, we won't be able to find it this way. We actually got to go into the entire text. And I probably could find it another way, but I'm just going to go to this sentence. And it is the infamous Zama cacao that we are looking for, which they're going to reveal why you just made this dude black. So you can look like the God, bruh, in the cosmos, matching the effigy of the dark face of the cosmos. Well, maybe if I can't find it like this, because I know this text so long, I don't even want to do it this way. So I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna come right here and I'm gonna try to transliterate it. If I put a Z, it should pop up. ZMA Zama dash KK.W. See if it pop up. Oh, it popped right up. Oh, killed you. Damn, this shit is hard. Look how hard this is. Now you understand what uniting the darkness is. I just got through showing you. Oh, man, God, let me calm down. When we put Zama Cacao in the text corpus, we really could see they don't even understand it all the way. Who unites the darkness? What darkness is he is Zama Cacao ain't a unite, man. They don't even understand this shit. Zama Cacao ain't necessarily uniting the darkness, but they understand what's going on. Because remember, Cacao, Zama Cacao is really the darkness of the cosmos. They only got one Lima entry, let me prove it. They only got one Lima entry. What darknesses are trying to be united, y'all? See? It is the blackness of the individual on earth being united with the darkness of the divine monarch in the afterlife. But I can still prove it even more because you're going to think this is amazing. When I click this word, it only has one Lima entry. And when I click this word, it's going to take us back to the same exact, out of all the thousands and thousands of texts in this text corpus, when I click this word, it's going to take us back to the same exact text I was just reading. So why is that significant? Because in a text where they're rubbing some bitumen on a dead person to make them black, they really tell you it's for you. It say who unites the darkness. Let's see. When you go into the text, which text it say? All right, we got to get it right. They just took me to something else. Hold up, translate. The knife that unites the darkness. Now they got something else. We want to find Zama Cacao. Damn, I don't want to have to go look through the whole text, dude. Let me see. If it's in the Roman period, maybe I could just go to the last page and find it. Well, you'll find that later in that text, they tell you that that deceased was done this way. Let's see if I find it. This is the Roman period. Augustine. Now, don't think Cacao isn't the same concept. That's just darkness. Zama Cacao is uniting with the darkness of the cosmos. Zama means to unite. Cacao is darkness. So I won't spend too much time looking through things that is hard for me to find at this point. But I know where it is in the same exact text that we've been reading from. If you read the whole entire text, I might could spend a few more time looking for it. But I'd rather show some other stuff before I end the show or, open the channel, do whatever we do. I want to more definitively talk about why the ancient Egyptian gods were black. But this definitely tells us, it don't say why. It shows you a lot about the process of what black symbolism meant and since this is such a beautiful one, I have to forget it because there's so much information in here. Because I just remembered this also in the same text. Dang, that's a mistake. It's also in the same text. How can I close this out? Hold up. I'm gonna pull it back up and just find it. Made my screen too big. It's also in the same text we learned that it was Osiris who made the god men black. So let me show you what I mean. First, Osiris rubbed his substance on the god men. And men, we know men is another ancient Egyptian black god. Right? So this is the text. I'm going to try. Look, it's 61 pages. So let me just read this. It covers your body like noon. Do y'all read that? Man, hold up. Noon is basically the cosmos. But look, now here it goes right here. No, it don't. It's just so much of this that's just going to corroborate what I'm saying. Take the fluids of the gods, the discharge that came out of Ra, the secretion that came out of Shu, the sweat that came out of Geb, the divine body that came out of Osiris. Perfect are the fluids that come out of you, Osiris, the father Heter god, the Tether. The merchant oil, so these are all the oils that they're advising him to take and to put on the deceased. But if I have to go through this text and finally find the Samaka'u, it covers your body like noon. Noon is the cosmos, all black, and eventually you're going to be able to unite with the son of Noon, the divine monarch, in your blackness, because you match his image. You receive the herbs garment or the Hebes garment and the noble Menechet dress. So now they are wrapping up the deceased. It says, Ra clothes you in his sweat. So they pour some of the sweat of Ra on you. They're going to line about the bitumen we were discussing. And they're doing all these good things. I'm just looking for this one part. And we already substantiated that it was so that he could look like the God, because they said your manifestation of the God is now perfect after they rubbed all the bitumen on them. The bitumen that came out of Coptos, the outflow of Kinti Amenti, it comes to you. This is all stuff we looked over before. All right. Gold and silver, lapis lazuli, and turquoise, they come to you. Now check this out. There comes glass to light on your face and the red draster that surrounds your walkings. When I talked to one of my partners who got to scrutinize some of these remains, he started talking about the gold fingers and stuff and the gold toes. And my man was like, yeah, they really did put gold fingers and toes on the deceased when they were in the sarcophagus or whatever. So you can see the point when they started needing to put the gold fingers and toes on people. Because they say, look, we put your gold toes on, homie. You riding on gold ones. Let me see. All right, hold up. I'm just looking for the significant. Oh, here go the gold toes. You will receive your nails of gold, your fingers of pure gold, and your thumbs of electrum. Gold fingers, man, gold fingers. That might be my new, oh man, I might have to be gold fingers. You feel me? The outflow of Ra, it comes to you, the divine body of Osiris in truth. Hold on. You will be beautified by gold. You will be covered in electrum. So they talk about when they close up your casket, it might have had all kind of stuff on it, I think. But we still going far. The gold that comes from the mountains, you're going to have all kind of gold. See, I told you, man, I'm only on page 15. This funerary rite got 61 pages. I don't think I got the endurance to find it because I know it's there and I'm telling you it's there. So if you want to see it, you can find it. I could just keep the show going. But I do want to kind of talk about it though. I wonder if there's a way if I could search a term inside of this text. Because they talk about the Zama, you uniting with the darkness after they put all the bitumen on you. Yep, that's what they did. I don't know, I'm getting kind of tired of this. I started playing a new game the other day. I started playing UFC, and I was all juiced up until I got whooped. Like, I was hella mad when I got whooped. I felt betrayed by the video game. It's like, how you just gonna let me get whooped? I must gotta put it on the easiest mode to get my enjoyment at this age. Because I ain't got time to be sitting around learning how to be good at something that don't render hella results. It's a pastime. I only need to be moderately good at a pastime, right? You don't need to be like super raw at a pastime. You hella raw at doodling on paper. Well, I'm still looking. So they wrapped his fingers. Look, they doing, look. Y'all thought I was lying about they say when they when they bust his head open and they put stuff in his head. Read this. It says, be anointed again after the cavities in his head have been sealed with the itchy fat. So first they went up in another part of this text, they go up in the cavities in your head. Take out your brains and stuff through your nose and stuff. Then they seal up all the cavities to your head so nothing can really go crawling through your dead body on the inside through your nose. See, they had game though. Reading this whole text is causing me to get off point until we find some makakau. So I ain't tripping. Shout out to the people who've been contributing to the channel. And shout out to the people who remain members of this channel, even though I'll be taking my little absences. You know, this is a whole life thing here. This ain't like a season of YouTube. We've been talking about this for the last 10 years. So let a cat take a 2-week break and not be tripping. Y'all think I ain't gonna find it, huh? Whoever think I ain't gonna find it is crazy. Why would I write a book and form all these conclusions off something that I didn't see before? You will eat and drink holy in the duat. You're gonna be a boss in the duat. Now, if you're gonna eat and drink holy in that duat, you will see Osiris in the great place. Told you, you about to hook up with Osiris. Man, everything we telling you. But if you're going to see Osiris, it's less than becoming one with him. But watch when you become one with him. So you're going to see the great black God in the great place. Sorry that it takes so long for me to find this part, man. I ain't gonna keep apologizing. I'm trying to talk to myself a little bit too. I don't want to do that for hella long. I've done it on plenty of shows before, and I've given you the source here. It's gonna pop up in a minute. But now they flipped them over. They're talking about doing other stuff to the deceased. But you can see earlier in this text, they took out his intestines and put them all in the canopic jars and stuff. And last thing I'm gonna talk about is that Zama Kakayu, and I'm gonna be up out of here. I'm not out of here, out of this text. Because I spent enough time on it. So he was at the house of Netron, now the house of life, the house of breathing. The noble and perfect mummy is in Punt. Your face is perfect. You are a perfect image. It says, you are the perfect image, a noble, perfect mummy in Punt. All right. So they cleansed them with water, all this stuff. Damn, so I guess the bitumen must have had to dry it up. Because how y'all gonna cleanse it with water after y'all put all this stuff on there? Put all this stuff on him, then you putting water on him. So if anybody's confused about how we know that they're actually doing this process, if you read this text from the beginning, it's more clear that they start doing a ritual. That's why it's called an embalming ritual. Look, the papyri bandage and the shet bandage on your forehead, she wraps your head. So he still ain't finished being wrapped into a mummy yet. But he got all the bitumen on him, so he dead black. One thing you're gonna learn is they're gonna get him all in all his mummy wrappings, then they're gonna put some more bitumen on him. So I'm like, damn, they was obsessed with this. But anyway, I'm not finding it here, but it is the text. It is in this text where it just basically shows us that they unite with. You're doing this to unite with Zama Kakao, to unite with the darkness. All right, here we go. I found it right when I was about to give up. So let me remember, this is page 31 of this text. Now let me prove it for y'all, man. Y'all be thinking I'm making shit up. Look, watch this. So this is them talking about it again. May he bring you the discharge that comes from him, the asphalt that comes from his body. May he bring you the divine material from Bat, as he did for men himself. Oh, you just got your wig wounded. One thing I said was it was Osiris who made the god men black, remember? When we see the god men, he's normally in his black effigy. You never see a green men or another color men. Now we know why men is black from primary sources. Why is men black? Because the god Osiris gave him the divine material from Bat. Now we don't understand what that is, but we gotta know the map. Bat, remember when they said the best, they didn't say the best bitumen was from Coptos. What they said was we got some bitumen from Punt, we got some bitumen from Palestine, and they said, but the body of Osiris is the Kintiamentiu is the bitumen that come from Coptos. Coptos is Gebtu. If I take you back to the map, what you gonna learn? You probably won't learn it from this map because this map ain't letting us know good enough. But Bat, let me see if this map gonna let us know where Bat is. Really, they calling number 7 happy, but number 7 is Bat. Why am I not saying Bat? You can pronounce it how you want. But there's a goddess called Bat, and I don't think she was called Bat. But if you want to say Bat, fine. So I'm going to have to take this to the dictionary. To Google. I'm going to say B-A-T-E-G-Y-P-T. Look, so they talking about Bat. See, in ancient Egypt, the goddess Bat is often depicted as, this is not what he's talking about. Bat is a location. Trust me, I will have to show you that because I'm not going to keep going in circles trying to prove everything I say when people ain't even telling me that they think I'm wrong. All right, a similar goddess worship in another known. No, if you, I thought Bat, I could show y'all that Bat was on that map. Bat, oh, I said Egyptian. I need to say Bat Egypt. B-Y-P-T. Bat Egypt. And maybe they'll pull up the location. But anyway, it was right above Gebtu. Right? I don't know why I don't see it on the map. Is it below Gebtu? Nah. So here's Gebtu. And Bat, if I recall correctly, is within Nome number 7. What's causing me not to find that? Let me see. I know I can find it right in the story I was reading. Because look, you click this word Bat. First of all, I can prove it right here. Look, Bat. There's a place name. Bat. Told you. 7 Nome of Egypt. Got him. Got him. Bat is the 7 Nome of Egypt. So if we go back here to the map, I was right. Bat is in number 7. So remember what they just said. They got the best bitumen of Gebtu that they rubbed on the god men and the mineral from Bat. Right? Now let's keep reading. May he bring you the divine material from Bat as he did for men himself. Well, let me ask you this. I think that this whole region, and we got evidence to prove it inside of this bend, like you can't really pinpoint these areas as sharp as they're doing. And maybe Bat even was just like a bigger region. Because as you read in the text had to make sense. And it says, may he bring you the discharge that comes from him, the asphalt that comes from his body. They literally said the bitumen that comes forth from him. And may he bring you the divine material from Bat as he did for men himself. Men is the god men. So Osiris brought this bitumen material that comes from his body to the god men. And every time we see the god men, he's what? Black. Now, this is the next part of this funerary embalming ritual is going to reveal even further that the way you look is what they're talking about. Watch this. The next sentence says, may your skin be anointed in the duat, right? We can go through all this, and it pretty much says that. May your skin be anointed in the duat. This is to anoint. This is skin. If I click, and this is your, and this is in new. So, what they say, Hindu, I don't know how they did Hindu out of that. I just see nu in the duat. They say Hindu, but I see a M. I see menu. M. Y'all see that though, right? Oh, Hindu in the interior of the duat. Yeah, in the interior of the duat. Yeah, so that's right. May your skin be. You don't think this literally says skin? How many times I showed you this word? Now, wanna trip off this? He had the option to say skin color. See? So it's definitely about how you look. May your skin be anointed in the duat. Want to prove it? May your face be opened in the ways of what? Cacao, in the ways of darkness. Cacao. But this is just you being open in the ways of darkness. Later, you got to get Zama cacao. So page 31 got a reference to the darkness. Your face, that we just put all this black stuff on your skin, may it be open to the ways of darkness. If you want to take that translation, fine. So you will step out onto the terrace alive and onto the necropolis healthy, for the god and Coptos are protection for your body, and men of Coptos drives away your enemies. All right. See, I spent hella time looking for that and I feel distracted, but this is what I love to do. And so it's hard to stop. You know what I'm saying? I just want to keep on going. But to get back to the point, why was they black? And I like what Plutarch said and what Strabo said. That, man, it got like a dual significance. I think I like the fact that they don't discredit them being black because they're from the South. Right? And so this is a good one to read. The throat would be full with, they're still talking about all the way that they're going to. I'm only on page 30. So much more happens here, but I'm just exhausted with looking at this. Hopefully we at least seen enough to say that there was definitely a process where making the deceased match the effigy of the black god Osiris was done with bitumen, right? That ain't even hard to say. So look, I gotta so I've been going to the warehouse I haven't really been going much, but I got hella equipment to set up in the warehouse in Oakland, and I'm about to start probably streaming out of there soon. But I've been focusing on learning a lot of equipment lately so that I can step my content up. We could get I want to do more hip hop type podcasts and stuff, and to bring people from the Bay Area in, let them talk. So I had to get a little bit of gear for my company because we all outdated. We don't really got shit. Like, you be wanting to do something and gotta hire people for everything, for stuff you should just be able to do. And so I've been learning how to work hella stuff, you know what I'm saying? So that we could come back fat with the content. It's been 2 hours and 30 minutes. I would love to get an old school live, not a live, but a chat or whatever popping off, but I don't think I got enough in me right now. I'm gonna go eat me some food and sit down and trip off these things. And I gave my answer in the beginning that I did think it had to do with a lot with divine monarchy, but that concept was not divorced from them being original black people who set up the earthly monarchy. See, if Osiris was the first one who set up the earthly monarchy, and he came up out of the South as a black man who set up everything in Kemet, then you're gonna find that deified in the afterlife. Like, he still was who he was in the afterlife, but it's just a different rendition of it. See? Let me see. I can find it. Yeah. Yeah, I was supposed to go to, I was probably still trying to go to the office today. I was waiting to see if some equipment was gonna arrive. Like I had to get some green screen backdrops, some big 10-foot ones, some you know, that type of stuff, some black backdrops, some nice cameras, some nice lenses. You feel me? Oh, I got my slot. Years arriving by 9 p.m. I got us like a 80 centimeter slider. I love that. That's gonna be hella fun. And I mean, we had a whole film production in our warehouse before. And now with these I got 4 light panels. So it's gonna be fun. I had to, what did we see? I've been on this. Y'all know about that big boy right there, right? Y'all know about that big boy. Back on my Smash Rock Wellington, boy. You feel me? And so, been learning the camera, make sure I'm hella raw. You can't be no noodle. Like, I hate people. I know, I be talking to photographers. They don't even be knowing what shit is. In the camera. I'm not talking about real professionals. I'm talking about people, because now that everything is democratized, you can just buy something and be that if you got the equipment, right? And so, but I'll be talking to people shooting my videos, and they'll be thinking like I'm just a rapper. And they over there having a problem, and I might drop a lug like, bro, what's your ISO at? And they be like, I'm shooting on automatic mode. I'm shooting on automatic mode. I just gonna walk back over there like, why am I paying this dude? The name of this camera? What's the name of the lens is what you need to be asking, boy. What does it say right there? Can you see it? Sony 7. This is an A7 IV with a G Master 20 to 70. Feel me? No, 24 to 70. Yeah, so I've been doing that all week, working on settings and stuff. So trust me, everything about to get better. It's a process, though. Thanks for the contributions and the people who keep this channel thriving. You feel me? I'm about to go. So what I need to do now, I'm working on LUTs. I don't know if people know what lookup tables are, but I want to shoot my footage in a certain way so that I get the most out of the camera. But it don't look good for the client or for whoever when you shooting. Because if they look at the monitor, they won't see it without a lookup table on it. And it's just gonna be all flat footage. So I'm working on getting my lookup tables in the camera, and I noticed I can't even get, I might get another, try to get another. I mean, we need more than one camera, so it's not a big deal. But I'm thinking about getting that FX3 because we got a lot of new music coming. I know I don't want to mix up this. I'm just getting up out of here. Maybe I'll start another stream and talk about that type of stuff so that I won't get too much other content in there. But yeah, so tomorrow I might be trying to push maybe to the Bay or something. Who knows? Sometime soon I'm getting that all set up. Anyway, if y'all understand everything we just looked at, everything we've seen, and you watch a video with somebody telling you pseudo shit like, well, what about the blue Osiris? When they ask you those questions, here go the first answer. What's the blue Osiris called? When they say that, tell them shut up. That's all they gonna say is, I don't know. Then, what about any other color Osiris? Just respond with, what is that called? They're gonna say they don't know. And because we understand how they find ancient Egyptian papyri, everything wasn't canonized. Everything, it wasn't nobody sitting at the top of the people drawing papyrus talking about you did it different, you did it wrong. So some of these could be there for different reasons. What we have learned is that the one epithet that they give for a colored Osiris is the black one. That's who he is. Everything else is something else. The black one. I showed y'all where our set was the black woman. So what can we say? Original blue black. Thank you. You feel me? I'm back on my Black Egypt. Please believe I ain't talked about it in a minute, so we can do this. Since everything I said was presented to the world in the last 2 years, at least by me, it's probably presented by others before that. And ain't nobody refuted none of that stuff. They just go talk crap about other stuff. I'm not even addressing the same simpletons. I will, though. We could get right in the middle of it. It's nothing. It's been like little bums and, detractors all the whole time, bro. You be having to deal with them. So I don't got no problem with that. I just want to know why Brother Aunt abandoned Dr. Ma'at and how Dr. Ma'at rocking with a dude who really don't even fuck with your business. You selling air that May, so you gonna throw all that away? Because of what, Baltimore? What y'all got in common? Feel me? Man. Yeah. Clowns be clowns. But anyway, not Dr. Ma'at. No, she's never a clown. I said clowns be clowns. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Dr. Ma'at is the goddess, the sister, the PhD. Don't get it twisted. She got big love coming from Smash all the way from East Oakland. Don't even get it twisted. She got a place she could come anytime, do whatever she want to do right there. Don't let nobody twist up game. But all right, I'm about. I'll get at y'all afterwards. You know what? Never mind. I'm going to holler. All right, I'll be at y'all. Peace.